Hey everybody! Welcome to the podcast with a name. I'm Gal with Zae, and joining us today is the being that has no name.
I don't not have a name. I have a name. Maybe I'll acquire a name over the course of the podcast.
Maybe. Yeah, that can be a goal for us. If there's anything that just sparks your interest or anything like that, please let us know.
Yeah. Until then, we will just be
slowly collapsing into our own mortal coil.
Well, there's that, but we will also just be giving you different names.
Okay, we're doing introductions beyond that, right? We're not just gonna be like, we've got names.
Well, I mean, what is there to really say beyond that for any of us, you know?
I mean, like, is this like a job interview where like we gotta present a short resume to our audience before they hire us to bathe their ears in the delicate music of our voices?
We have to introduce ourselves to the audience. That's kind of how these things work.
I suppose. Well, here, let me try this out for a second. Ready? Hi. You can call me Zaphod, and I don't want any of my personal information out there.
I'm Gal, and you all know just about enough.
Great.
I'm the other one, and I make mashups.
And together we form the podcast with a name.
Well, not entirely. It wouldn't be a complete podcast without listeners like you.
Alright, let's not butter them up too much.
Fucking PBS up in this.
Listeners like you little shit. Is that better?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, what do we want to chat about? Because I got a couple of ideas. Mainly one specific one. But...
Ooh.
What have we all compiled? What is there?
Well, for the past couple weeks, I've been actually catching up on NCIS.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's been fun. I don't think I noticed it at the time, but, NCIS is really hilarious.
Like, intentionally?
That's a real...
intentionally, too.
Okay. I assume we're not talking about the SVU series. We're talking about the straight up... Wait, SVU? No. I'm dumb. That's Law and Order. Right, NCIS. That's the one with, McGee.
Yes, with McGee!
Yes. Yeah, and Ziva.
Yeah. Well, not Ziva anymore. She left the show.
Is that how far you're in it already with your recapping?
Yeah, they bring her back.
That's another issue altogether, but, I just kind of wanted... The show has its fair share of dark storylines, especially in the first two seasons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it gets wild. The first episode is, not necessarily dark, but it's this whole, convoluted plan to stop the president being assassinated, which is a great introduction for Gibbs.
Mm-hmm. Wait, that's the thing that cops do?
What?
Are the cops in NCIS?
Well, NCIS is, the Navy cops.
Oh, boat cop.
But, they still do some serious storylines, but it's nowhere near as dark as the first one. I believe one of the earlier ones where, there was this thing about a lover killed her boyfriend and took his eye for something. I don't remember, but...
For their witch's brew.
Maybe. I don't know. The episode was called Black Widow. I don't necessarily remember everything about it. But getting back on track to what I enjoyed about watching NCIS this time around is that it really, at certain points, it doesn't take itself seriously, and it's really funny. At one point, there's this part where they all collectively turn in their badges because they pulled some risky move that cost them their jobs, and their boss Gibbs also threw their badges in with them. It's if you're gonna punish my team, punish me too. This kind of solidarity moment.
Solidarity. We violated someone's constitutional rights.
Yeah.
Like that?
Something like that. I don't remember the exact episode, but after like the director was like they were cleared of that, they also like and they're allowed to continue their investigation. They practically like went to the table with all their badges and guns and tried to try to figure out which one of their badges is theirs because they keep grabbing each other's.
Nice. Solid.
It's very hilarious. And at one point, like later in the episode, like Gibbs just nonchalantly admits he's afraid of leprechauns. There's just little gems like that throughout the episodes that I just didn't catch when I watched it all those years ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, I watched the show when I was a child, and my big takeaway was, you remember that time that Denozo got the plague?
Yeah. I do remember that.
And that's the most of my memory from the series, that and Ducky. Just in general.
Ducky. Ducky retired in the show right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. He's now the NCIS. He's now the NCIS historian.
Oh, that's interesting. Alright.
Yeah. Yeah, but then, like, after I got caught up with NCIS, I started watching CSI Miami.
Yeah, you did tell me that you started watching CSI.
Yeah, and, like, there is such a contrast to, like, how these two shows operate.
Yeah?
Like, there's...
Dun dun.
That's Law and Order. This is CSI.
CSI is... Yeah!
It's,
right?
Every theme to CSI is a song by The Who. I mean, a lot of them are. I remember I watched it in Forensic Science as an example of what isn't good forensic science.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Most cop shows are terrible at forensic science.
You can't You can't enhance a pixelated image.
Well, now you can, but it's going to turn everyone into white.
Yeah, but it's always just straight to business. There is no time for like character stuff. It's just really like, hey, we have this crime, we gotta go do it. And it's just like, it doesn't have the heart as NCIS. And like, I think they kind of realize that later on. Because you know how like CSI Miami goes, it's infamous where like, the guy puts on the glasses and the theme song starts playing after a catchy one-liner.
Uh-huh.
But like, the funniest moment I have seen in the show so far was purely ironic. They found a body, and like, I think his name is Horatio. Horatio is like, all right, yeah, we gotta find the killer. We found the body. Let's move it back to the lab. And then the scene starts, which caught me by surprise. There was no whip. There was no like ironic line. It was just down to business.
Oh, just another day at the body factory.
Yeah, I guess. Well, you know, they set up that expectation. So yeah, the funniest part would be when they break it. Fuck.
I mean, I guess it's the thing though. TV shows, like, I mean, you'd think that the writers would know that like this is a formulaic TV show. You gotta do something, no matter how like, you know, trivial, to at least seem like you're deviating from the formula. Nope. Body time.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And also, one thing I can't stand, there's like one of the main actors just has the longest forehead I've ever seen.
Hey.
5 head? 6 head?
Or are we going for the full 2 hands head?
The Ki-Adi-Mundi?
Probably a hand and a half.
Ooh.
Is he like the only member of CSI allowed to fuck in consistency with Star Wars lore?
Yeah. It's only those with the large foreheads. Yeah.
Just don't love your children, 5 head.
Yeah.
God, that is really like one of the shittiest things in the Star Wars series, huh?
Which parts?
Just the only Jedi that's allowed to fuck is the one with the big head.
Oh yeah.
And it's all like, it can't be lovingly. as to the
Yep.
Jedi's creed.
Yep. And all his children died.
So, to be fair,
Yeah?
that guy is also in the movie. He basically has the role of suggesting really stupid ideas to the council. So, it's probably like his children would have been very dumb if he'd raised them. Because he would have taught them how to have bad ideas all the time.
But here's the thing, they're very dead when he didn't.
That's true, but that's unrelated.
I suppose.
I mean, but also they died because of partly of his mishandling of the whole Anakin situation, right?
Yeah.
And
I
the
mean-
whole Clone Wars situation.
I believe the Separatists bombed the planet.
Well, yeah, but he was all like, what about the droid attack on the Wookiees? And that made Yoda leave at a time that would have been really crucial for him to be there. Oh, wait, the Separatists bombed the planet.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
that's not
Separatists.
racist.
Yeah, no, the Separatists. It was during the Clone Wars. And also,
But like, had his children survived,
huh?
like, had his children survived and like he'd taken an active role in raising them, like, and gone and gotten like government positions, and like just failed to read the room, failed to be genre savvy.
Uh-huh.
You're asking a lot of what ifs. And for someone
but-
who's not a Marvel property.
But that's the thing, I'm really intrigued to see where this lands.
Excuse me, I think we're all a Marvel property at this point.
Every single one
Maybe.
of us. Yeah.
But at the same time, though, he had a lot of kids, too. I don't think he could pull that many favorites. I think it was somewhere between 60 and 100.
Yikes. That is too many children. I'm gonna put a hard line in the sand, in the sand that Anakin hates. I think that's too many children.
I mean, so to be fair, the reason that he can fuck in the first place is because his species has, I might be wrong here, but I think it's that like his species has a very skewed ratio of males to females, and therefore needs him to, make a lot of babies. Like there aren't a lot of males around.
Oh yeah, it's like one of them Ganondorf type of things going on. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's exactly that. I think my understanding is that his species has a low birth rate in general, and it's like his species is also endangered, I want to say.
Okay, I mean that would make some sense. I'm wondering about the low birth rate thing though, because that wouldn't mean they'd have a low fertility rate if he was able to make that many kids. So
I could have gotten the number
Yeah.
of kids wrong.
I mean, I guess I've got an alternative theory that will explain. So like the prequels kind of had like a vague cyberpunk aesthetic going on in some parts, particularly on Coruscant, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if we're gonna like extrapolate off that and say that, if things like guys offering to sell you death sticks and diners can exist in this world, then maybe there's some other cultural analogs that could be around that might also coincide with low birth rates. What I'm suggesting is that Ki-Adi-Mundi's species are mostly watching space anime.
sorry, one more time?
Ki-Adi-Mundi's species are mostly watching space anime.
Oh boy.
Huh.
And Ki-Adi-Mundi is like space Shinzo Abe.
You just gotta have a lot of babies, you know?
Yeah, except like he's not like beating around the bush like the real Shinzo Abe. He's doing it directly. Direct action. If Shinzo Abe really cared about the birth rate in Japan, he would just go out there and just offer himself up,
I guess so.
Right? Space anime and stars. That's nice. What else do we want to talk about? You guys had other things on the agenda, I believe.
Okay. Well, allow me to give us a hard turn into talking about Nicki Minaj.
Oh.
So, there's a lot going on there, y'all. There's so much going on there. Just reading the entire, all of the tweets to come out of it, all of the interactions, all of that kind of stuff. It's just like, you know, it's like watching an eel go through a paper shredder, you know? It's going to take a long time for us to get to the end, and it's going to be a bloody mess the entire way through.
Great analogy, by the way.
Why, thank you. I worked 0 seconds on it. But, so there's an angle that I want to attack this at. A way that I want to analyze it, and because I think that it's something that people are missing out on. And that is that this is definitely not to say that Nicki Minaj is correct about anything in regards to vaccine knowledge. Not in the slightest. But I do think that a lot of people are jumping very much onto the, Nicki's being stupid sort of thing, when I think that it should be very noted that African Americans in the United States have had a long history of not being treated super well by the medical industry.
That's true.
That is true.
So I understand the hesitancy, and I think that it's important that people do understand that there is a hesitancy going on for, you know, some valid reasons. At the same time, that's definitely an STD that Nicki described. Yet not any symptom of COVID, you know?
Or symptom of the vaccine.
Yeah, you know, it's absurd. Super high officials and people in Trinidad have been talking about how they haven't seen reported cases of it and are offended at the insinuations that Nicki is making. So
I don't think they're necessarily offended by the accusations that Nicki's meeting. I processed it as they're frustrated because the accusations made them go through every single case for 2 days straight and not finding anything, and they find the whole thing ridiculous.
Well, no, that's the thing is that I am pretty sure that it's the first, because it's spreading vaccine hesitancy in Trinidad and Tobago.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I think another part of this is, so Trinidad and Tobago, right? They're not that big.
Yeah.
The population can't be that large. If this guy exists, which I have some doubts if he does for reasons I'll go into later, but he could probably be found. Who's a guy in Trinidad who has, he knows someone who's Nicki Minaj's cousin and his testicles are massive.
Yeah.
There probably weren't that many cases of guys going into the ER with massive testicles in Trinidad on any given day. But also, I think, it's true that the vaccine hesitancy thing, in other circumstances, I believe that that's what stemmed Nicki Minaj to tweet this.
Mm-hmm.
But I also understand that Nicki Minaj is a celebrity and someone who wants to control her public image, and have heard that this is coming out at the same time as her husband is getting accused of a lot of sexual misconduct.
Not just her husband, also her brother.
Wait, the one whose cousin's friend had the... No, it wasn't her.
No,
It was her cousin's friend.
No, I'm saying not only is her husband facing a lot of controversy, or at least was, but also her brother is.
Yeah, not to disvaluate your point, but like the stuff with her brother is not necessarily news, but it's been reported on in the past. Like people have talked about it. I
Okay.
believe.
But did the husband stuff, like, I'm assuming that there's been a recent development with it, right? Like,
Well, yeah, as far as I'm aware, yeah. And it's kind of a generally known kind of factoid that Nikki doesn't necessarily keep the best company, let's say.
mm-hmm. And I mean, you know, effectively what we have here is the Barbra Streisand effect, because I wouldn't have known about their husband if this all hadn't happened, you know?
Same.
Like, but, like, I don't follow celebrity news most of the time.
Ditto.
That's true. And to give the being with no name a point,
I got a point.
Yeah. 1 point.
I believe that prior to that tweet coming out, she talked about how she wasn't attending the gala for reasons she would reveal later, and then then later she sent out that tweet. So
Oh, well, did you hear about the reasons?
the reason I believe is related to her husband being arraigned.
Well, it's because the gala was within 2 blocks of Chuck E. Cheese.
Ah.
That's
Right.
that's one lucky Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, fuck.
Or unlucky. I mean, what if you get, like, drunk celebrities going in there playing the games?
Well, here's the thing. Isn't that exactly what you want? Because they're the most susceptible to, like, spending exorbitant amounts of money.
I mean, I guess that's true, but also I'm wondering how many, like, of your long-term customers you're gonna lose when you have, I don't know, like, a completely... I'm trying to think of a good celebrity to bring up here, because all the celebrities I can think of are, like, really nice people.
Or so the publicists claim.
Who's this? Okay, like, a like, completely sloshed Johnny Depp just demolishing kids at skee ball and being like, yeah!
I get that, but
Don't
also
forget
to that
this is the
point...
day you got beat at skee ball by Captain Jack Sparrow.
Well, to be fair, though, if Captain Jack Sparrow came in when I was a toddler? No. When I was little, if, at, like, insert skating rink name here, that has skee ball, playing some ski, and fucking Johnny Depp walked in, gave a hoot and a holler about being Jack Sparrow, and started chucking the, like, ski balls into the holes, you know what? I'd give props to the man.
I think
that's true.
I think that would have been
problem is,
Oh,
I was gonna say
the bigger problem is. Oh nope! I started saying it for the 3rd time. I'm taking it now. We're not. One of us is going through this door, and it's gonna be me. So, like, I think the problem would arise when he starts to sober up, and then he invites over Helena Bonham Carter and the director Tim Burton,
oh yeah?
and like it would be like the equivalent of when the guy at the party pulls out the guitar, you know.
Ah, yeah.
I do not get it, but I assume things go weird.
Well, yeah, you've never been to a party.
Like, the guy pulls out the guitar and he's like, who wants to hear Wonderwall? I mean, I've never been to one either. I don't actually know if this has ever happened in real life, but I'm assuming it has.
Alright, so walk of shame time. Me, but if there's a piano.
I mean, yeah, but that's different because you're good at the piano and you play more than one song.
But I wasn't always good at the piano is the issue.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, there are worse instruments to be bad at. I'll say that. Like,
The
my
trombone.
sister, love her to death. She is a great person, but I had to endure her learning to play the cello.
Mm.
And while she plays the cello well now, like, you know, early on it was rough because that's what someone learning to play a cello sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could be that on the flip side. Like, my brother used to listen to me practice singing.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Well, like, I also can't talk that much because I played the saxophone, which means that, you know, your first year of the saxophone, you don't have a volume setting below fortissimo.
Oof. That's a big yikes from me, dog.
And like, it's not, you know how like a saxophone's usually got that kind of like refined, smooth sound. No, an early saxophone just sounds like an angry goose. Also, I was playing on like a saxophone that was low quality when my dad got it in the 80s.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Like, by the end of I haven't played it in a while, but by the end of my high school band career, there were legitimately parts of that instrument held together by paper clips.
That breaks my heart. That honestly, truly does. Ugh.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's why they made me the drum major, is because that way I'd be up there waving my arms and the saxophone would be in a box in the band room.
Yep.
Yeah, that might check out.
Yeah. So, who's got another topic?
Oh, okay. So I've got one.
Yeah.
This might be a better essay, but I want to talk about gender in Breath of the Wild.
Oh boy.
An analysis.
Okay.
Because I was thinking about it because I started by thinking about the most obviously genderful Breath of the Wild, which is Gerudo Village, right? Mm-hmm. Which, okay, on the surface, it's not a good look. Like it plays on some tropes that kind of come off as transphobic and just generally weird. But also, like, if you look past the tropes and try to look at it from a world building angle, we have, the Gerudo, who are, fairly archetypical, like, female separatist society. And I thought about them, and I thought about the other side of the map, directly opposite them, where we have the Gorons, who, as far as we know, only have one gender that is heavily coded in the game as masculine. The big Goron quests involve them kind of trying to outdo each other at physical activities. There's the whole, like, man tower thing you have to climb.
Don't they all call each other brother?
Yeah, they all call each other brother. And like, I was thinking about that, and I was also thinking about how, in contrast to that, you don't really see gender roles having a significant effect on the rest of Hyrule post-Calamity. Because, like, you go to the villages and they're led by people like Impa or Pura, and you have all sorts of craftspeople of any gender, plying their wares, doing things. And it's also implied that there's some amount of gender fluidity or non-binariness to Link by everything, including Link's, like, easy ability to pass among the Gerudo. And what's interesting about that is that there is one thing among Hylians that reflects gender, like, mattering and having hierarchies associated with it pre-Calamity, which is, King Rome, who, and, he's the one that starts you on the quest, right? Minor spoilers, right, yeah. I haven't played, like, the basic beginning of Breath of the Wild. Like, he's a king, he's raising his daughter to do, like, the traditional thing that the Princess of Hyrule does, etc. And despite the fact that he's the one that sets you on the quest to, like, set the kingdom free, like, the game never actually really achieves what he kind of wants, which is to bring back the way things were, arguably. He's like, this is my beautiful kingdom, destroyed, go fix it. And, like, you defeat Ganon, but everything, A, stays how it was, and B, apart from all the monsters, is actually kind of nice. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of ways that this could go. And I would love someone else to pick up this thread now, because that's most of what I was thinking about with this. There's something else about Link as, like, a heroic archetype, and you could probably get into symbolism of the Master Sword, but let's not.
Well, I mean, if we were my old Arthuriana teacher, anything that is long is obviously a metaphor for a penis. But
yes, I also had this kind of teacher. I had this kind of teacher in 5th and 6th grade summer school when talking about ancient Greeks.
Wait, so, like, that eel metaphor you made, is your metaphor a metaphor?
Yes, my metaphor is, of course, a metaphor for chopping the head of the penis off. But with that being said,
Shredding it.
yeah. With that being said, I think just to kind of pick up on where you left off, I think that there's also interesting things to be kind of talked about in regards to at least the Gerudo village and gender, in that, you know, throughout the Zelda series of games, there's only the one male Gerudo, which is, of course, Ganondorf, yes.
Yes.
And aside from him literally being a pig in many of his incarnations, you know, he is treated with a sort of reverence and gratitude. Well, gratitude might be a strong word, but he is always treated with a certain sort of reverence and mythos as being the male Gerudo, being the king of the Gerudos in Ocarina of Time, or, you know, other examples here.
I should say the only other Zelda game I've ever played is Spirit Tracks, by the way.
Ah, I see. Great.
It was good.
So,
I've also never finished Breath of the Wild. I should also point that out there.
GG, 10 out of 10. But what I think, kind of getting back to my point, I think that it's really interesting and kind of weird to have this Amazonian race, but even so, with their, like, you know, fighting off the men who are attempting to get into their village, fending off the men who are trying to get into their space, they still acquiesce to a specific man who is just kind of there, you know? I think that there's ample opportunity for a fuller critique of gender in the Zelda series in that regard, because, again, even though the Gerudo women are these warrior women sort of archetype, they still find themselves at the end of the day subservient to a man in many of their incarnations.
Well, and that man specifically is overtly, even though it's like in a cartoony video game-ish way, fascistic, right?
Yes.
And okay, so this is definitely going to be a case of death of the author here, but you could draw parallels to the unholy alliance of, like, the trans-exclusive radical feminists and fascists.
I suppose you could.
Especially, you know, if you look at Gerudo ideology and the you know, it's video game cutesy gender essentialism, but it is still some gender essentialism going on there. Which also happens with the Gerudo. Or, no, the Gorons. They have similar sounding names.
Well, but also kind of with that being said, there is a sort of interesting performativism going on in it, you know?
That's true. Oh, sorry, go on. I think you're about to say something else.
Because there's Link and the other character who I'm blanking on the name of, who you get the Gerudo clothing from, right? And both, like, there's some weird stuff going on with the depiction of that person, but ostensibly looking at the text for what it is, that is a person whom has facial hair, but as long as the veil is up, as long as they are performing female, they are seen as female by the Gerudo society.
Well, and actually, so I haven't experienced this in the game. I've just heard it exists. But I know there's like a secret club where the Gerudo like don men's clothes and hang out there. So it's kind of a converse of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that there's an opportunity to look at some interesting sort of performative aspects within the series.
Yeah, and like, I think it is interesting too because that still ultimately leads to the Gerudo worldview being that, like, you know, femininity is better than masculinity, and is a moral decision, which is still not great, I guess.
Yeah. You're right.
Like, it's one of those things that people like start out talking about jokingly, and then you just kind of have to watch them carefully in case they start following the wrong people on social media.
Sure. Yeah, interesting shit.
But yeah, well, and my other thought though is like, I think the existence of these two like very strongly gendered but like solely gendered areas in a post-feudal but apocalyptic society is kind of interesting. As like, I don't know enough about the lore of Breath of the Wild to know how integrated these two clans were with like the broader kingdom of Hyrule when it existed. But it's interesting to think about how, like, if you look at what these gender roles basically exist on their own. There's no seeming reason for them to. Magic has made it so that these communities are exclusively one or the other for the most part. Whereas, presumably in the kingdom of Hyrule, the gender roles are dictated for the same reason they were in historical feudalism, which is to kind of separate between like the line of succession and power and everything else.
Yeah.
And so I guess it sort of begs the question of, in terms of gender roles specifically, to what extent are they one of those things that maybe people cling to after the rest of the society that they've known has gone?
Yeah. Well, and actually, this is a little bit tangential, but I think the Zora have some interesting stuff gender-wise going on, or at least as far as gender relations go, because it's a through line throughout the series. At least I've noticed it in Ocarina of Time, and also, like, to a certain extent, in Breath of the Wild. But they're... Actually, scratch that. I thought about it for like 2 more seconds, and now it doesn't make sense to me.
Which species were you talking about again?
The Zora.
The Zora.
Which one are those?
Fish people.
The fish people.
Oh.
You could make the argument that the Zora represents sort of a persistence of that, because it's really the only place in Breath of the Wild that is still a feudal kingdom.
Yes.
Like, everywhere else is just sort of an isolated village or tribe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and I remember that in Ocarina of Time, this is tangential to the point that I was going to initially make, but I remember that there is, like, a whole marriage thing going on in there that they really emphasize.
Well, like, Link gets married?
Well, like, kind of, because there's... Is it Ruto? I
don't know.
Double check that. But the Princess of the Zora from Ocarina of Time, Ruto, yeah, Princess Ruto. In Ocarina of Time, you first meet her when she's a child, and Link is also a child, and she demands that Link rather becomes, like, her fiance.
Children.
Which is interesting because that's, that they had a thing like that in Breath of the Wild with Mipha.
Yeah. Well, and then when Link becomes an adult in Ocarina of Time, there's still that kind of through line going on of, yeah, we were promised, like, marriage to each other when we were children. So there's that lingering thing kind of going on in the background of those interactions. So there is a weird specific thing that the Zora seem to have, at least in those interactions with the various Link, to this idea of like how important and strong like a marriage is or presumes to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not going to make any further statements about that. I just think that it's interesting to know.
I'll make one further statement, which is that Breath of the Wild must canonically end with Link marrying Sidon.
You know, I'm going to agree with that.
I have no comment.
That's because you know I'm right.
It's because I don't know who you're talking about.
You know,
Prince Sidon?
you must have gotten that.
No, I barely played the game.
Big Red Sharky Boy?
I've seen
Have you beaten any of the Divine Beasts?
No.
Okay, I thought you'd played. Oh. Well, you need to play
Yeah.
the game. It's one of the best video games to exist ever.
Didn't you watch me playing some of it?
Yeah?
I swear I got to Sidon by the time that...
No, I have been in the dark about this entire conversation.
Gal, what the f...
I feel like okay, so all the bits where we accidentally said someone's name, yeah, you need to redact it instead of just editing like.
Don't worry, I have started that process ever since like the last one.
No, but I mean,
Nice.
like, don't make it sound like don't like just edit out the bit where it happened. Like, there needs to be like a beep.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Maybe that specific
Nice.
sound I just made.
All right.
No, I think that you should make it different for each one. Maybe a mechanical whirring for yours, and like a seal barking for mine.
Okay, but you have to use if my name ever comes up, you got to use the beep.
Gotcha.
Cool. Anyhow, anywhomst.
Is that my name now? Wait, is that my name? Could my name be Eep?
Eep. All right.
No, it's gotta be. You gotta this. The language that my name is spoken in is a tonal one. It's Eep. On one sec. Let me
That's
pull
gonna
it
get
up for
old very fast.
Quite so.
Okay, that's true. We can make this gag work for a couple of episodes, right?
No.
Mhm.
Hang on.
No, make it a different sensor sound each time.
All right.
Hello?
All right. Moving on.
Yes, moving on.
Hold on.
I think...
Okay, it's a G.
Okay.
All right.
I think that we've got time enough for, what, one more topic or so?
A short one, yeah.
How about let's talk about Spider-Man?
Okay. What do you want to talk in regard to Spider-Man?
Well, I've been reading this latest run of Spider-Man, which is done by Nick Spencer at Marvel.
Okay.
You know, infamously known for Secret Wars.
Oh.
Wait, is this
okay.
the guy that made Captain America a Nazi?
Technically correct.
I mean, I know it was like a not really kind of deal, but still.
Yeah. It's
Intriguing. Tell me more.
Well, yeah, he's
What's he doing
been
with my boy?
he's been in charge of writing Spider-Man stories for the past couple of years, and the
Yeah.
general consensus is that he's the best Spider-Man writer they've had in years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Yeah, I've enjoyed his run immensely. It's been really fun, but like he is finishing off his run in the next month or so. They kind of just dropped a kind of a big bombshell in the past couple issues that well, before I go into that, do you guys know about One More Day?
I've heard of it, but I don't.
Vaguely.
Wait, isn't that the same plot as what's gonna happen in the next live-action Spider-Man movie?
Kinda.
Where like Spider-Man's identity gets revealed, and it's like Mephisto, fix it, and then Mephisto fixes it, but it fucks everything up.
Yes,
Is
kinda.
wait, is that the one where he gets unmarried?
Yes.
Unmarified? Fuck. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, after just to kind of recap for the audience, One More Day is a controversial Spider-Man topic, which basically, after the events of the comic Civil War, the Kingpin, knowing that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, orders a hit on Aunt May, and as she is dying in the hospital, Peter is doing whatever he can to save her, save his aunt. And like he goes to Doctor Strange, Banner for some reason, and just like any Doctor Doom, and eventually he is approached by Mephisto. And he says that I could I could make sure your Aunt May lives, and make everyone forget about their secret identity. In exchange, you have to forget that you were ever married to Mary Jane, and you will like give up the future you guys had together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rewriting the like whole kind of arc of him eventually getting married.
Not necessarily. Like they do remember being together, but they don't remember ever getting together. And this kind of started out the whole idea. This started the whole kind of idea is like the whole debate is that should Peter Parker be single or not?
Yeah, well, as I understand it, this was largely used as a retcon of the Mary Jane relationship.
And probably of Spider-Man's secret identity being known to the world too, because like he's like the biggest superhero in terms of having a secret identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this move was universally panned, and One More Day is considered to be the worst, if not one of the worst comic books in history.
So why did he want Spider-Man to divorce Mary Jane magically? Like, is there any reason?
I don't know.
Because he's a dick.
Yes, that's...
Like, did he want to marry Mary Jane?
No, but yeah, and this pissed off a lot of people because, first off, like, up until that point, Mary Jane and Peter Parker was the longest lasting superhero relationship next to Superman and Lois Lane. And this is actually one of the...
Hey, but don't forget Batman and Alfred.
How could I forget? Oh, side tangent, but did you know, like, how Alfred was introduced is that he tricked Batman into becoming his butler? That's a whole nother story for later.
GG, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, but...
An old comic story.
Yeah, the original Golden Age story. There's something about a bet, whatever, but basically, the first thing that Spencer did when he took over from Dan Slott, who now writes the Fantastic Four, is that Mary Jane and Peter Parker get back together. So he instantly won a lot of brownie points just with that. And like, there is a lot of speculation that his upcoming arc will finally retcon One More Day, and there's been several. Yeah, but what makes him much more interesting is how he's been writing the Green Goblin.
Oh boy.
So what do you guys know about the Green Goblin?
Well,
He's a businessman.
He's Osborn.
Crazy.
Yeah.
He was kind of a gangster for a while, and then they were like, what if he was just crazy?
He's the dad of one of Peter's friends.
Who also becomes the Green Goblin.
Yes.
Right.
Not to be confused with the Hobgoblin, who's like formerly one of Peter's romantic rivals.
Or hobgoblins, who are creatures in D&D.
Or the Red Goblins is when he has a symbiote. But that's...
Or the Rainbow Goblins, which is an amazing metal album.
Or the Trash Goblins, which are,
us.
raccoons.
Or my grandma's
Yes,
dog.
us.
But anyway, in one of the issues, it's revealed that like years ago, like before the start of the series, that Green Goblin, before he became Green Goblin, made a deal with Mephisto in order to keep his family fortune, because like his business partner was stealing everything away from him, and that basically over time cost him his soul.
Well, you couldn't have gone to someone else first, like I don't know, a lawyer.
Yeah.
Like I hear, Matt Murdock and She-Hulk are pretty good.
Yeah.
I suppose they're heroes though. Is there a good villain lawyer?
No, but
Wait,
like
shit.
this was before he was a villain. This is
So he could have gone to like Daredevil, but like,
well.
Wait.
I need to sue
Is
my
there...
business.
Wait. Sorry. Real brief side tangent. I need to see a procedural court drama, but where the two sides are Matt Murdock and She-Hulk.
It must have been done.
That maybe, but like
You think, but I can't recall it.
But it's kind of like this big reveal that the Green Goblin and Mephisto, the Green Goblin and Spider-Man, both did the exact same thing and tried to hide away their sins and all that. And it's very interesting because like that the fact that Norman Osborn forgot to keep his son out of poverty sold away his soul, and like it's hinted like that's what caused his madness to go, is that over time the deal just kind of like corrupted him a little bit. And like the same thing happened with Peter when Dan Slott was writing him, as he became much more of a jackass and a much more of a very much out of character during the past 10 years. So that's the big thing. And they also retconned the whole thing with Norman Osborn being the father of Gwen's children. So that's nice.
I didn't know that was a thing, and I'm gonna pretend that I didn't know that.
Good, because it's retconned.
Yeah.
Net zero information. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. Spencer. Yeah, I highly recommend that you guys check out Spencer's run, Spider-Man. It has good stories, and it's like it's a good. It actually got me into being a fan of Spider-Man as a comic character and like actively reading his comics.
That's good because the comics have always been better than the movies for.
Yeah.
Except Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse was fine.
Yeah.
Spider-Verse was good.
Yeah. And like if there is one criticism against if I have against like Dan's writing, is that not Dan, Nick Spencer's writing, is that sometimes he kind of drags his feet a couple of times, and there is this like overarching, and like he introduced a new character called Kindred, who is the one who's been tormenting Spider-Man and like has a ties to One More Day.
Yeah, I remember hearing about Kindred.
They do eventually reveal like who Kindred is, but it just I'm not necessarily saying it comes out of nowhere, but there is not a lot of foothold for that character to be in this arc.
It's Jameson, isn't it?
No. Actually,
okay.
he Spider-Man and James Jonah Jameson's are best friends now.
I mean, that's good. I think JJ coming around makes sense, since he is generally regarded as a good guy at heart in the comics.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a good guy with bad takes.
Yep. He's like the archetypical your dad.
Yeah. He even like has that whole, he and Spider-Man has this whole arc like in the first part of the story where like where his quest with his vendetta against Spider-Man, like he kind of sees like how his like vendetta has actually like has an effect on people and how they view Spider-Man. Because basically, what the son of one of his former villains, who kind of believed that Spider-Man framed his father, as per some of the ramblings, tries to hunt down Spider-Man and James Jonah Jameson for like betraying his trust and all that.
Oof.
It's a really interesting story, but he does act a bit cartoonishly there.
I have to make sure to check that out when again then.
Yeah. I will say, like, also, it's kind of weird. There's currently 73 issues in the Amazing Spider-Man, and during the bigger events, sometimes during the bigger events, they have their old like side issue that you have to read.
Sure.
I don't know if you have to read, but like.
But you have.
Yeah.
Stan Lee's Ghost.
No, I'm gonna get through all of the issues just looking at the pictures. I'm gonna go out of my way to white out all of the text.
Oh. Alright, have fun.
Spider-Man hard mode, let's go.
Hard mode, yeah. And sometimes there's also they call back to scenes from earlier and from other artists' run, but but you don't get a lot of reference to. That's just for me. That only happens like one or two times, and that's like kind of it's kind of near the end, like where I'm at.
Okay.
Yeah. Overall, Nick Spencer can't write Captain America, but can write an amazing Spider-Man.
And that's just how it be sometimes, you know? There was that one dude that made some really good Doctor Who episodes, and then they put him in charge of Sherlock, and that just...
Stephen Moffat? Okay,
Yeah.
they also put him in charge of Doctor Who, and that was a mistake. Like,
Yeah.
Sherlock was never good, but Doctor Who, like, just got worse. Doctor Who was legitimately good, and then Moffat was in charge, and it like went uphill for a little bit, and then rapidly downhill until he left the series.
Well, I would say like it kind of uphilled a little bit like near the end of Matt's run and Peter Capaldi, but then it kind of plateaued, and then Jodie Whittaker came, and like the writers also didn't know what they were doing, and also like plunged the Doctor Who lore into a destroyable mess.
Okay, I will actually say, I disagree. I think the end of Smith's run was some of the weakest writing that he did, except for like the specials. But I think the end of Capaldi's run was the best Doctor Who writing he did, because he knew that he was going to be wrapping up soon. He didn't leave a bunch of stupid unresolved threads he never properly resolved this time.
There's other people go into much more depth about it, but Capaldi is an underrated doctor. Jodie Whittaker.
I really like.
Jodie Whittaker doesn't have a good doesn't have a good starting out point, but I hear her second season as the Doctor was pretty good until the Timeless Child.
Yeah, see, I've seen some of the specials in the first season of Whittaker, and I gotta say, I think the main problem I saw with it is that the writing got very like stock BBC and not so much what I expect from Doctor Who. Like it's a little too feel good taste.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like, and Doctor Who is, it's meant to be, somewhat heartwarming and about how the universe is fundamentally good and stuff, but not in a BBC way, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Or like I think Christopher Eccleston is still my favorite because of how he portrayed the whole thing with the cheeky British leftist optimism.
Oh, I miss 9. Have you seen much of Doctor Who? Zae?
I have not seen a whole lot of Doctor Who, like, at all. I just remember an episode with Child in spacesuit and a couple of crying statues.
See, I think you'd like those 4 seasons. Because those 4...
Oh, yeah.
Every word that y'all have said has just whizzed past me, so...
The first 4 seasons you should enjoy, because that's Eccleston and David Tennant's run, and that had the and that had the strongest writing in both me and the creature's opinion.
Well, I'm not gonna say it was the strongest writing. I don't think Doctor Who has ever had strong writing. But it had some of the most. It was the first 4 seasons are campy, and then the ones after it try to be genuine, and that makes it kind of hit or miss.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. I saw someone write that they were going to try and watch Doctor Who in, like, not, like, the order of, like, episodes, but, like, in chronological order.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Wait, what do you mean? Like,
Which sounds...
Like, as in you start with one that takes place at the earliest point in, like, time.
oh,
Yeah.
And, like, so the last one you watch is going to be Utopia.
oh,
And there's going to be a weird bit around, like, the periods of 2006 to 2020 where most of the doctors, like, most of the episodes will feature the same doctor in a row.
A weird bit, yeah. I think that would be interesting because it's gonna be the most chaotic clusterfuck of anything.
Yeah. The unfortunate bit is the last episode would not be a fitting last episode because it's one that, like, the main purpose of that episode in its actual season is to set up for the 2 after it.
well, the last one chronologically, if I'm understanding it, if the one that happens chronologically in space and time is the one that takes place after, it's in season 3, I believe.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Like, that would be a terrible way to end.
Yeah.
With the reveal of something we already knew.
Yeah.
I think that it's perfect, personally, to be completely honest. But also at the same time, I think that I am going to call it quits for the night.
Yeah,
thank you all for chatting with me.
All right. Podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been the podcast
that has a name.
Yeah, this has been the podcast that has a name.
Will be podcast with a name.
Yes.
Is not that has a name.
Yeah, the podcast with a name.
But it does also have a name.
So, thank you guys for joining. Click a like, subscribe, and we'll see you for the next episode. See ya.
And ring that notification
Yes. I guess.
And give me money.
Yes, money would.
Money, please, into my mouth.
Yeah, I would like some money, please.
Please, I eat money. It's the only thing that gives me my nutrients.